Each morning, real setups are broken down with entry strategies and technical reasoning behind every trade. This is today's best trade setups with Verified Investing.
Yesterday, we had a good sell-off in Tesla. We also had a sell-off in SBSW as well as silver. Silver and SBSW are continuing or starting to get a bounce today, along with Baidu. Baidu's up over 5%. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. And today is today's top trade setups. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a couple different levels for you on silver, SBSW, Tesla, AVGO, and several other stocks. Let's go ahead and dive into the chart. The first one I'm going to go over is the chart of Tesla. Tesla had a nice bounce off of this, right above $458.96. This was my long level yesterday. If Tesla decides it wants to drop a little bit more today, my long level today would be a pierce of $440. So $439.91 is where a lot of support is sitting on this particular stock. It did get close to this level. It looks like it did actually fill that gap. However, if you go to the the intraday market, it didn't actually hit. It got within a couple pennies of this level before it's getting a little bit of a bounce today. For those of you who are aggressive, your shortable level on Tesla would be $475.11. It's basically just filling the gap that was created on yesterday's price action. I'm still monitoring this $500.58 level, although it's not as strong because it got really close to that level and then got a pullback. This was a pretty good sell-off. So now if price action can get back up to this level, you should still see a pretty strong rejection. On the downside, $439.91. And then if price can break all of this support level, you could come back down and hit this upsloping parallel channel or the lower end of it, sitting right about, well, depending on when it hits, about $415 on this chart. Let's go ahead and jump into Oracle. We're still monitoring this down-sloping trend line. Prices try to get above it several different times. If it continues to fail to reattack or get above this level, you're likely to head back down to $180.04. This is where I'm targeting today. That'd be a nice 7% sell-off in the chart of Oracle. On the upside, if it does decide it wants to rally today, $201.99 is an aggressive level. For me, I'm looking at a shortable level at $210.57 with an additional short level at $223.14. AVGO, we're still monitoring this upsloping trend line. That has already broken to the downside. What we're waiting for is a retrace to the scene of the crime. I want AVGO to head all the way up to $361.78 for a short level. Not only is it a retrace to the scene of the crime, it's also this wide range red bar candle that's going to have some significant buyers who were stuck in this trade. And once it gets back up to this level, you are likely to see some people exiting in their trade and driving the price down. We want to jump on board with them and hit that sell button. And then when we are in the money enough, we can hit that buy level to cover our trade. If AVGO fails to get back to $361.78, my long level today, which I'm monitoring, is $329.88. This would be not a huge sell-off. However, it is still a gap in the charts where buyers are likely sitting to get into this trade, $329.88. And then ultimately, $306.26 is where an additional buy level is. This is more for a short-term swing trade, looking for about 5 to 6% on a bounce if we can get AVGO to sell off a little bit more today. All right, let's go ahead and go into the charts of Baidu. Baidu is up 5%. It was actually up yesterday, and it's closing or is sitting at about $133. I have a potential upside target of around $140 where there's going to be additional resistance. Let's go ahead and jump into the chart of BIDU. Baidu, again, it's trading at $133. What we're doing right now is we're trying to consolidate right alongside of this or right below this low pivot area at $133.45. What I'm anticipating is price to break through this and get all the way up to $137.90 where you have this gap in the charts. But for me, my shortable level is $140.23. Not only do you have this wide range red bar candle that's going to offer some resistance, but you have this secondary wide range red bar candle that was a previous gap in the charts. Once price action can get back up to that level, there should be some profit takers and or people who were exiting the trade we're going to take a trip with them, sell it into this resistance level, and look for about a $3 pullback on the Baidu chart. Now, if it does decide it wants to head up above $140.23, your next level of resistance is going to be about $145.28. Those of you who are interested in going long, an aggressive level would be just closing right at this gap at $126.87. For me, this is a little bit too aggressive, but I know there are a lot of you out there who like to be aggressive, and so you can take a good 20 to 30, maybe even as much as $1 on this chart if it decides it wants to get back into this level after this nice bounce on this chart. Nvidia is another stock that we're monitoring. It's kind of in no man's land right here. We're right underneath resistance at $193.59. And we're also above this $180.99 level for a long play. So for me, I'm not interested in this until it makes a move either to the upside, where we can enter this at $193.59 with an additional add level or two at $199.05. You have this great green bar candle and a gap fill in the charts. So you should get some price rejection at $199.05. And again, I would be dollar cost averaging up every couple bucks on this all the way up to this level. On the downside, if Nvidia wants to sell off today, $180.99 is an additional gap in the charts. That price action got above. Once price gets back in there, there should be some buyers setting up to enter this trade. If price does decide to consolidate right at that level and flush, you have an additional long level at $174.14. MU is another stock that's creating all-time highs. Yesterday had a nice surge to the upside. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this. I still like the $300 level on MU if it can push up just a little bit more. Let's go ahead and just jump into that chart. Here's the chart of MU. $300.27 is still a good shortable level. What I like about this level is you had this sell-off on the 26th of December. Yesterday, it looked like we were going to continue to sell, and then all of a sudden the buyers came in. This would be a 7.75% move from the lows of yesterday all the way up to $300.27. Again, this is my shortable level on MU. If it does decide it wants to head up a little bit higher, you're probably coming up to about $305, could even get up to $306.60, which would be an additional short level for me on MU. On the downside, if we get a sell-off, you're likely to get all the way through this green bar candle and head to this gap fill at $276.37. There's never any idea of which direction the markets are going to go. What we have to do is wait for additional volatility, price volume, and possible capitulation. Okay, let's go ahead and go into the chart of silver. Silver, I have a short level at $69.66. So where do I get that level? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fib extension tool, take the pivot top to the pivot low. This was on Friday. This was what happened yesterday, had this huge sell-off. If price can get and retrace to the 786 fib retracement at $69.66, you are likely to get some selling pressure in this in the stock of silver or the commodity. So I would be doing shorting that. I'm going to remove this fib tool right here. Could get up to $71.12. So this is additional resistance. All this green bar candle is indicating that there are still people who are stuck in this trade thinking that it was going to go up all the way to about $75, and then they got rejected. So when price action gets back into this level, there are these people who were stuck now down 10%, or they were down 10%. So they're likely to exit this trade thinking that, okay, maybe the run on silver is over. We want to be there driving the price down with them. Now, the last chart I'm going to go over is SBSW. This had a great sell-off yesterday. So it had a closing price on Friday at $15.70. Yesterday, it dropped over 9%, 9.5%. It was up as low as 10%. When price action gets back into this gap at $15.70, you are likely to get some sellers in here to drive the price down. I would only be looking for about a 2, maybe a 3% pullback from this level. It is a lighter stock at a $15 stock, so I wouldn't be anticipating too much. Knowing that I've got additional resistance at $16.13, and then another gap in the charts at $16.75. In order to see these gaps in the charts, we actually got to zoom back and look at the price action from April 2022. Here's the first gap that I was mentioning at $16.13, and the secondary gap above this 1570 level at $16.57. Okay, that was a lot of information. Gareth Soloway is going to be going live and telling you about what's happening with silver and the possible reversal in this, or a continuation reversal in silver. And that's what I have for you. If you guys are getting something out of this, please make sure you're liking, following, subscribing, and ringing that bell so you can get notified every morning. The market is open at 8:45, so you can go live with me. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments. I do check the comments, and I do go over some charts. If you guys have some specific charts that you guys want me to take a look at, I would be happy to do that. And again, my name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing, and we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.